to the podium, and I want us to celebrate the very Professor Richard Aja from the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Uyo, Nigeria. If you can do better. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and the invitation. I want to congratulate the faculty because my own faculty has struggled for many years to be able to even have a conference. I think I have constituted committees up to 3 times. And none of the committees, none was actually able to go through. I want to congratulate the Dean and the Vice Chancellor for this opportunity. I would like to say that my scholarship has been blessed by conferences. If you check my CV, I have attended too many conferences within Africa, Nigeria, and throughout the world. And my PhD students are trained. It is part of you must attend how many conferences before you graduate. And not only that, I have set goals for them because I felt and I still feel that when a PhD is well trained, you have actually given him or her capacity. And so I want to congratulate some of us that are here to listen to this. If it is a nonsense, then philosophers believe there is sense in every nonsense. I'm sure that you will make sense out of this. I want to thank the keynote. I listened to him, and the engagement was quite very, very innovative. I will take my paper is actually African identity in the age of algorithmic, literary imaginations, digital consciousness, and Africanfuturism. Why I took that is actually because I was trained in literary studies, but my postdoctoral I veered into comics, and from there into digital humanities. And so, more or less, I'm working with people in the Department of Faculty of Computing now, more than people in humanities. And so I have also tried to replicate what I call interdisciplinary scholarship in the humanities, especially when it has to do with emerging fields. And that is exactly what I'm going to do here with the limited time I have. And so I will talk about a very short introduction, and then the theoretical framework I will define very well. African identity in the technological age. I will skip it because Doug has actually said certain things about it. And then literature as an archive and laboratory. I'm going to interrogate speculative fiction. And then you have Africanfuturism, African futures, and the politics of imagination. And then I will conclude towards a humanized technological future. Why I take that position, I will explain very, very well. I try to pontificate by saying that the crisis of identity actually came after colonization. And we should also put it in perspective that the crisis will not end. You see that the keynote speaker came dressed in more African than us. And I am more Western than himself. The reasons are very, very important for you to understand. Number one, he lives in a space and so he's suffering from nostalgia. And why myself, I live here, I'm not wearing suit because I am already African. And so the nature of our clothing, I'm actually been doing a lot of research on clothing culture, experimentary practices in films, in literature, everything. And so I believe that how we came is going to describe how our future is going to be. Future identities. There will be crisis, and the crisis will keep moving, changing, because the identities will become fluid. Not only that, it will definitely be negotiated. I have a friend in US, and so when I visit him, he is Igbo origin, married to somebody from Congo. And so the children, they are going to have challenges of identity. And the child may finish and he lives in Tokyo. And when he lives in Tokyo, he will marry an Asian. And so you will find out that they are not going to pigeonhole him to a particular identity. So identity, boundaries of identities are collapsing. Even the West want to dress like Africans. And so you get to a point where we will not talk about identities again. And I'm going to explain with narratives I'm actually problematizing. And so let me start by saying that why the conversation matters is actually that all algorithmic technologies are increasingly shaping all the things we know, especially the construction of knowledge. And if you understand in that light, then you will know that culture, the emerging cultures, popular cultures, traditional cultures, everything about them, ontologies are being questioned, epistemologies are being reconstructed. And in doing that, it means that new faces, perspectives are emerging. And that is why you will have to look at them constructively. It has time. That means the time to do it is now. Number two, necessity. Humanistic inquiry is very essential to ensure that this transformation remains ethically grounded and culturally responsive. And then the agenda of my paper is simply to do that. I told us that who actually defines identity? He has tried, many scholars have tried to define identity. There is no need to tell you, but there is one thing for you to understand, that identity as it is now is socio-technologically constructed. In doing that, number one, you have digital co-creation. That means, that is why people have a different identity, because when you talk about WhatsApp, TikTok, Facebook, all of them, there is group identity. And so many identities, micro and macro identities are mentioned. And so you will see that the setting, there is some mannerisms. People are actually, you see somebody that has not been to US, he describes some streets in New York. He has never been there. I did, my PhD was on migrant rights. And you will see people in Morocco who have never gone to Spain. Because from Morocco to Spain is less than 30 kilometers. And because of that, you see people that are in Spain, in Morocco, but they are consuming the Spanish states. How do they do it? They do it both in abstractions and in many ways they can. What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that even identity itself is becoming more problematic. And so, co-creation. Number two is storytelling evolution. Storytelling evolution. If you open your Facebook now, everybody is a content creator. At times I question that even some content, they don't have content. And so everybody, if we were at the dean's office and the wife was there, we had the legacy. And so I was waiting for one of the sons or children to carry the Android phone and start recording. After that, it is uploaded. It is a digital storytelling. The device is very simple. You only use your Android phone. The next thing is that you have network. And once you do it, and how do you do this and successfully, and what is the motivation? The motivation is economic value. That those Western, and that's what you find in the owners of Facebook, TikTok, and all of them. And so when you have followers, they get to an extent, you begin to receive some money. And so when one of my town guys said so that he was not interested in his engineering course, I didn't blame him. Because he suddenly got about over 5 million in his account. And when he checked his father's account, they didn't have up to 2 million. And so he felt he was richer than his father. And so, how did he come with that money? It was social media. And so social media has become a revolution. And that is why. Why is it possible? Integration of AI integration. And so AI integration, artificial intelligence, instrumentalizing storytelling. And that is what you're going to see. There are hundreds and thousands. If you check your Facebook, you will see them. They are always done in reels, because that is where you can stream videos. And so when you do this, you will understand there are things we need to have in our mind now, like the scope and analytical framework. Number one, I will use some primary tests just to explain to us. There is a test, Yacht Magic, written by Dilla. It's an a Ugandan artist, a Ugandan writer. That yet magic is actually, it is a dual language. It is just under the tree. It is like a tree metaphor that is used. But this is a device, it's not just a device, an application. It's an application that was developed, as I'm going to tell us, locally. And the development is going to revolutionize everything about political, electoral campaign, everything in Uganda. And so you will see. But this is so because it is actually a science fiction. And in science fiction, there is speculation. And you know that actually the world, certain things happening in the world had already been done through science fiction. And so science fiction has a lot of prophetic, it's more or less a prophetic writing, because they tell you about the future in the present. And so we also use digital platforms to tell us that in YouTube narratives, there are ways that writers are reconstructing identity in many ways. And so I'm going to give us an example where maybe here in Africa, if it is going to, Africa is going to use as a setting. All the people that are found in that community are no longer bearing either maybe Obobo name, they are not bearing local names. You will see among them, you see Yorubas, you see among them, you see Igbo names. You see, and so what am I saying? Because according to Derrida, he quoted Adorno and the rest of them, there is actually a deconstructive lens. Everybody lens that everybody is wearing, in the sense that name is seen as a name is seen actually as a meta narrative. And in meta narratives, you should understand that it must be deconstructed in our own situation now. And so you see a child, you name the child a particular name. After that, the child comes over and says, no, he's not answering the name again. He has his new name. And so there are emergencies of micro-identities, challenging ontologies. And that is exactly what we should expect in the near future. And so what is my central argument? Why technology reshapes African realities? It is humanities that provide interpretive or interpretative frameworks through which transformations are understood, humanized, and critically directed. Let me tell you that I will use post-colonial theory and then African futurism. I will merge the two for the first time because Menete Okorafor, who is one of the leading voices in science fiction in Nigeria, has done some work, and I as well like to challenge in many ways. And so, why is it important to use that? It is important because Africa generally, we are writing back to Europe. But we are not just contented writing back to Europe. We are also trying to question some ontologies, histories that have been buried. We have not actually exhumed. And so when we exhume them, what do? We send back to Europe. Not only that, I had a discussion with the keynote speaker yesterday, and I told him not only that he was of the opinion that at times the West, they wanted to remain where we have been, even after 40, 50, 60 years. But I said that we have to even question what we do and re-question them. And so, why is it important? It is important to use post-colonial theory because of number one, digital powers. What do I call digital power? There is number one, what we should understand as asymmetrical relations when it has to do with who uses and who creates technologies. What you want to see, we were in Netherlands. We were 25 Africans, sponsored by ADVO on digital humanities. And when we looked at what we did, we told them that all of them actually were Eurocentric. The technology were Eurocentric because if I type Yoruba inside it to do text miming, it will not recognize it. If I type Yoruba language, it will not. If I type Malinke, it will not. And so we came to that fact that we need to decolonize technologies. But he that pays the piper will dictate the tone. And because we are not investing in technology, except Sadila in South Africa, where that is actually a language engine, digital language. And the South African government is paying, most of them in that hub, they are my friends. And they are spending millions of dollars to do that. But unfortunately, in our own case here in Nigeria, the politician will be ready to have up to 50 cars packed and they are not used. And so you see that situation, it is actually what we are going to find out. Number two is digital colonization. We will actually be colonized digitally, and that is what is happening now. And some of the things you type in WhatsApp, they are not, the server is not domiciled here. It goes to the US. And so you are going to find a lot of challenges if nothing is actually done. Number three is algorithmic ordering. Algorithmic ordering means is, I have a friend or a person who is in the Department of Philosophy. He types his name with so much seriousness. Because when he wants to type his name in a computer, his name is O2, OTU. And so when he types, once it censors it because it is AI injected, it translates to out. And so his name instead of O2 becomes what? Out. And so you can see that that is exactly what we call algorithmic ordering. And then ordering is actually a device, or more or less it's a notion that is where, especially by Homi Baba and Edward Said and Bill Ashcroft, and there's many of them who are exponents of post-colonial theory. And so you will see these things happening technology, and that is why we need to tropicalize technologies. We need to make sure that they attain some local colonies. I came with what I call post-colonial digital humanity. It has been invoked, and that is where we need to do it. Why are post-colonial digital humanities? Why are they talking about it? Number one, the reason is because post-colonial humanities, digital humanities, interrogates how digital technology may either reproduce or disrupt colonial epistemologies within scholarship, archiving, or cultural production. And that is what I can tell you. The reason is because language is as well, language is power. And not only that, many languages, African languages, face systemic marginalization, lack of content or functionality. For African languages, online platform reinforces digital exclusion. And so that is why you are not going to work. The reason is because you don't have your language archive in any repository. And so it is going to be limited when you use it as a data. Let me talk about African digital agents. The framework does not position African actors as passive recipients of technological dominance. Rather, it highlights the creative resilience of African digital artists. How do they do it? Number one, appropriation. That's how we do it. They do it, appropriation. That means African creators leverage digital tools and AI to repurpose imposed technological structure into size of cultural expression. And that is why it is becoming very alarming. Not only that, number two, resistance. The practice constitutes digital reappropriation that challenges hegemonic norms. Number three, counter discourse. Counter discourse, African digital artists who will present alternative stories. And so you will see how they construct stories. In short, in some of the stories, a setting may be a setting of 15th century, and then characters will be 21st century. How do you do? That's what we call anachronism. 21st century literary practice. That means there is no correlation between the setting and the characters. It is intentionally done because actually you are going to discover that there is nothing sacred again with the profanity of the sacred. That is what canonicity is no longer there. In the time of Ashebedem, the talks about canon is no longer literary canon. But now this is the death. There is more or less the death or the death of canon. Number four is alternative epistemology. Alternative epistemology, African digital creativity, contribute locally, and how? Because the digital African knowledge is now being explored. That is what we are going to find out in some of the texts we have read. And if I come to Africanfuturism, what is called Africanfuturism before? It's actually Afrofuturism. Afrofuturism was just used to emphasize that the future of Africa need to be understood, and so it talks about black identity. But some of Africans came up to say no, that experience of blacks in America is not actually the experience of blacks in Nigeria, in Kenya, in other places. And so Nedi Okorafor came up with African futurism. And so, what are the three things you need to? There are two. There's a distinction. It's a very black identity, that is their diasporic identity, from African identity, that's the continent. Because there are existential differences between the two. And so this is my paper actually aligns post-colonial theory with an African futurist perspective to examine literary fiction, social media narrative, and then the African mythology. It theorizes what I call post-colonial African futurism. That is what we are going to now. African identity in the technological age. What are you expecting? What are we expecting? We are expecting that technological age has actually significantly redefined social and cultural aspects of African life, therefore generating youthful creative energies at the major cities and urban centers across the continent. Is it possible? It is because of what we call middle class identity, according to Adeneka. Not only that, number two, platform culture, TikTok, and the rest of them. That is what is taking over. Why? The third thing is economic accessibility. Most platforms are free to join and easy to maintain, driving widespread adoption all over Africa. And because once it is going to entail money, many Africans will not be able to afford it. But in the West, it is not so. And so if the keynote speaker is going to, if I'm going to actually Canva, and then do my work, and then here do my work. When I try, they tell me that I need to pay $50, $40. And if in the US, it is Sujon has made provision for him. And so when I was coming here, I prepared for both hard copy and soft copy. The reason is because I know that we will meet this scenario we are meeting now. And so I was not thinking of that. I had to clearly protect my life. I said, go and produce, because no, we can predict how things go here. And so that is exactly what we need to understand. And so our African identity is not going to remain like that. But it's not going to say that. But social media has become a literary and cultural space, and that is why identities are made. For example, YouTube. YouTube is highly used among Africans. Not only that, Facebook is famous for media dissemination and audience engagement. And also, how do you reconcile the two? Diverse content. African digital creators produce AI storytelling, folktales, lifestyle content, and mini films through and effortlessly. I don't need to pay anybody. There is no producer. They are the ones producer. And with AI, you can buy to create filters, you can create reliefs, you can as well create Buddhas. You can as well create even the president, Tinubu to be mad. You can create him in any way you want. There is no censoring. There is nothing preventing. And so that's the whole mark of liberty. And that liberty is being released through creative energies of the youth. And that is why we need to go into those new areas, emerging field, especially some of us in literary studies. Just tell us about. I did some works. One of them is actually two of them they are in French. Princess Amara. Princess Amara is actually, it is narrated in French, but it has a text to speech, a future that can allow anybody. That's the beauty of AI. You can use any language. Once we infuse the text to speech, it goes on well with anybody. And so, what is a story of a royal sacrifice for communal restoration after a mysterious misfortune, grounding indigenous epistemology of sacrifice, spiritual causality, and collective healing. You know, that if the characters heard the keynote speaker, they will not believe that there was no manna that fell. The reason is because the persuasion of his statement is personal, is subjective. And subjectivity is scholarship. And so if this Princess Amara, they don't believe so because She had a key and she needed to unlock the village. And true, because they were experienced so many things. Number two is also another lady, that is Amaka, a parody of Cinderella, a story of an orphan mistreated by her stepmother, who becomes she eventually became a princess through fiction, reconceptualized within African names, setting and cultural code. And what is the techniques used? And what do you still images? You see, still images. Text-to-speech audio, editing techniques, new topographics to bring African storytelling to life as what we call video drama. So it is very, you don't need expertise, much expertise to do that. It is not like the period of Ashebeden. These are microfilms, macrofilms. You don't need to watch them for 5 minutes because the world is becoming increasingly micro and macro. In the sense that if nobody has the time to stay for 1 hour, 20 minutes to be watching, and me, I only tell my wife, let them have a decent then pay money and get all the decent for the children. It is not, I have never even started and watched them. The reason is because that is the essence of creating micro or mini film. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, a minute and 5. You have looked at it, you are gone. And that is how our identity is going to be defined in the near future. Why do I say so? In the near future, there may not actually be regressions again, because every regression will be when you are using through your Android. In short, there is a thesis or there is a research that was carried out in Harvard or Yale, believing that even in the crowd, more people are becoming lonely. You can't see two people sharing drink in hotels in beer parlors in anywhere in the US. And so you find one person sitting alone, even in the crowd. That's actually the agony of the future in all societies. And so I'm going to also tell you that why did I choose this two? Number one, the semiotic mix. The semiotic mix. And not only that, onomastic diversity, that is actually how our future is going to be. There will not be allegiance to ethnic groups any longer. Allegiance to ethnic groups will collapse in the near future in Africa. And that is what is going, and that is what we are seeing in the creative energies of the youth. They are trying to tell you, no, I'm Igbo. I can't be naming everybody that is in the community. No, I will have to bring Hausa name. I have to bring that is actually the ideology driving their creativity. The reason is because of the failure of ethnic allegiance. It has failed. Everything about the youth, they believe it has failed, so they need to recreate. That's why I'm talking about co-creation of meaning. And so, let me also tell us about the anachronism. As I talked, they use a method. Contemporary fashion is inserted into a village setting, bridges past and present, producing a narrative utopia that adopts the traditional folktale form. Why do they do so? They do so because they collapse time, space, and everything. The reason is because it is a high level of creativity to be anachronistic. But in the olden days, when the time of Ashebe, I remember for some of us that done some of them in the French literary, there was a warrior in the 17th century because the writer did not follow. What was the offense of the writer? The writer was told that he must conclude his drama within 24 hours. And the 24 hours practically is 12 hours. The reason is because except witches and wizards, nobody works at night. And so it means you have only 12 hours. And the writer couldn't know what to do. And so he had to bring a character that killed the father-in-law and married the daughter, and then the French society looks at it and says, no, this is possible. It cannot happen. Possible. He himself said, I was constrained by rules, and so it must happen. And so now, and that is why the young people are doing away with rules. And so anything that will hinder the creativity, they do away with it. And so that is why they created characters in a community just like Abraham here. They will create without cultural affiliation. They have the Yorubas, they have the Igbos, they have the Hausas. They have all represented. Because they are forming a new society. The future of African identity actually will be fluid. It will be renegotiated. It will be also changing. It will never be constant. Wars are being broken down. Boundaries are shifting. That is what will be the next future. Let me also. When I looked at Facebook AI storytelling, I picked two. Dr. Stories Hall, and then Fatih Bobo, and then mini films. The other one lives in United Arab Emirates. It's streaming in short. It has hundreds of thousands of views. And that means a lot of money for Facebook. That means a lot of money for Facebook. The money some authors might not have made in over how many years of practice, they can make it within few months. So that's the difference, that is why you find it attractive. And what is it is based, it has over 216 Facebook followers, producing serialized mythic like the snake here. The return of the snake here, the price of unseen wealth, under the shadow of wishes, the reverend and the secret of dark order, spirit. What is his narrative core? His narrative core is that snake girl is actually ideology. It means a magical war between native doctors. Agada and Mary Goddess of the Sea, featuring human-animal metamorphosis and fluid identity. And so you are going to actually understand that why he does that, and then the Atibobo mini films created by one. This actually is what they call the order. It's actually, but this is just what we call a complex drama of betrayal, inheritance, and marital allegiance within a powerful family business empire, and then in Lagos. I have as well made a comparison between the two. But let me tell us that why this is becoming intriguing and attractive is because not only that it tells us the mind of what is happening. I told us that literature now is functioning like an archive and laboratory. And a system of knowledge we never knew is actually being brought to fore. And so everyday experience and all the technological accessories that they need to, they are actually being used. And let me quickly, before I conclude, tell us about the selected text I use for close reading. Close reading is what you actually use when you read it. It's becoming traditional now because there is distant reading. Distance reading, I can read up to 100 texts in a minute. Not only that, last year I was in France and I did also what they call distant viewing. Distant viewing is a new system of reading or viewing images. If I go to like I was in the dean's house, I take the pictures. All the pictures of them, I mine them, and I use the technology. It will tell me certain elements in those artworks that even the dean himself did not know. And so that is so. I did this close reading because I needed to. What is Yadmadit? Yadmadit is a Ugandan writer. It centers on Amaro, a young entrepreneur woman, and a locally produced technology-mediated solution for socio-political reconstruction of corruption, weakened society. And what of behind our iris? It was written by Samasé, a young lady from Botswana who lives in the US. It's a speculative workspace shaped by what they call WeUs. WeUs is a bill-based technology produced by the Nairobi Tech Hub to enhance productivity and regulate employers. That means once you take the pill, you become like a machine, actually working for your master. It gives us two ways and perspectives on how to use technology. One, it can be for the transformation of man. It can as well be for the destruction of man. And so it's now less for the humanities to give all this technology a proper interpretation. In that way, they are defining how we should actually live. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.